The trailer for this film oversold the fun factor. That's not to say that this wasn't an enjoyable film. It's not bad. It's just, unfortunately, I just didn't click with it like I did the other films of Guy Ritchie's that I've seen. Granted, I have not seen all of his movies. Some of them I've stayed away from on purpose. I have no interest in the movie he made with Madonna. I have no interest in Aladdin. So, I haven't seen all of his material. What I have seen, I've enjoyed. Some I've enjoyed more than others. This just wasn't one of those films that I enjoyed more than others. And I'm not sure why, because all of the blueprints were there for this to be a super enjoyable film, but in the end, it just felt rather bland. And I had looked up some reviews for it, just to see what were other people's thoughts about this film. And one review article described it as a paint by numbers, like spy flick or something like that. And that's kind of what it felt like. It felt pretty formulaic. The story felt bland. Wow, I used that word already. Someone described this as or meh. That's exactly what this felt like. And I hate that, because when I saw the trailer, it looked like so much fun. And I'm watching it, and there were some moments that were pretty good. Some of the fight sequences were decent. Jason Statham is badass. I mean, I like him. He's definitely grown on me over the years. I never really disliked him. I just was like, meh, but now I'm a little bit more inclined to see something if Jason's going to be in it, just because I like a lot of the different things I've seen him in. And he was fine in here, fight choreography, all that was fine. There were definitely some moments where it was obvious choreography, the obvious wide high swing, that sort of thing. I really wish they would work on stuff like that, or at least cut it a little bit quicker, edit it a little bit differently so that it's not so obvious. I like fight sequences to look like they haven't been choreographed. They have been, but I like them to look like they haven't been. That's when they've done a really good job. Anyway, the synopsis of this film is something's been stolen, needs to be recovered. So it's got these elements of, let's say, James Bondish sort of stuff going on, Mission Impossible. Another review article referred to this as Mission Impossible Light, Lite. That's kind of what it felt like a bit, yeah. It didn't quite hit the mark like a lot of the Mission Impossible films have been doing. Ever since they kind of recovered from the stumble that was Mission Impossible 2. So it didn't quite measure up to that. And in my opinion, it didn't measure up to the excellence of Guy Ritchie's other films that I've seen. Like a few years back, or a couple years back in 2021, Wrath of Man came out, also with Jason Statham. Guy Ritchie did not write Wrath of Man. He directed it, but it was excellent. I really love that movie. I went to go see that multiple times on the big screen, have a digital copy of it. I think it ended up in my top 10 for that year. I enjoyed it. It was so good. It was a really solid revenge flick. And I really enjoyed Snatch. That was a fun film. I'm very glad there were subtitles available, because I couldn't understand half of what Brad Pitt said. And The Gentleman, loved The Gentleman. I thought that was excellent. And it surprised the heck out of me, because those movies dealt with, mobster type, organized crime type, bad guys. And that's a type of film storyline or subject that I generally stay away from, because I just don't really click with those types of films. But those other films of his, they worked. Now, these guys aren't baddies. They're like operatives. They work for the government, and they are sent out to recover this thing that's been stolen. And so like I said, there's like this spy and intrigue sort of stuff that goes on, and there's this rival team that they're kind of going up against, and so they've got this competition in that regard. Some of the sequences involving them a little bit humorous, kind of funny. Some of the dialogue in here also is funny, you know, it's pretty, you know, this very quippy dialogue that we've seen in Ritchie's other films. Humorous, the acting was good, the chemistry between some of the actors was pretty good, and so it had all of the pieces that should have made it come together and be just as excellent as the other movies of his that I've seen and have enjoyed. But it just felt the ending felt a bit anticlimactic. It just didn't spark that light in me that I was hoping that it would. I was really looking forward to it. I did not go into this with any expectation that I would dislike it, so it came as an unpleasant surprise that I just didn't appreciate it as much as I thought I would. And I don't want that to discourage anybody from seeing it. It's definitely worth watching on the big screen. If you like Guy Ritchie, I'm guessing you'll probably like this too. If you like spy things, action comedy sort of things, you'll probably like this too. There are some comedic moments in it, some snark. Maybe that will work better for some people than it did for me. Now, this film was supposed to come out last year. I've mentioned a couple times that I saw the trailer for it last year, but it's very possible I saw the trailer for it in 2021, because I often, when I say last year, sometimes in my brain I'm still thinking 2021, because sometimes I forget we're 2 full months into 2023. It takes me a bit to adjust. But the movie was supposed to come out, like I said, it got delayed. I had heard that it was because the baddies in here were Ukrainian, and so it was felt that that was in poor taste because of the war and everything. That makes sense to me as to why it was delayed, even though I don't agree with that as the reason. I think it should have come on out whenever it was ready. If there were Ukrainian baddies in here, they did not make that obvious in this movie, because there was no mention of the baddies being Ukrainian, so I'm guessing stuff was edited out. I kind of doubt they did any reshoots. I'm just guessing they edited out stuff or something. I kept wondering when these Ukrainian baddies were going to show up. I mean, I guess maybe they were still in there, but maybe we just didn't know they were Ukrainian. Anyway, whatever. That's a bit of a tangent. But yeah, it's just kind of... Your mileage may vary with this. You may feel completely different about it than I did. There were a couple of things that kind of just like... I didn't care for too much. One was like, there was this throwaway sort of political snark line that I felt was unnecessary. And I'm thinking, why would you single out something like that? You're going to kind of alienate half of your potential audience. And I thought that was just, I don't know why that was thrown in there. It just felt like, I don't know, maybe just because it's a popular thing to do. But that was like, okay, well, there's that. But another thing, if I've seen Aubrey Plaza in anything before, I didn't notice her as an actor. So I first noticed her as an actor when I watched some Sundance films last year, like the online screenings that you could do for Sundance when it was going on. And there was this movie that was called Emily the Criminal. I think that was the name of it. And it starred someone named Aubrey Plaza. And her face looked a bit familiar to me, but I couldn't recall if I'd seen her in anything. I never watched Emily the Criminal because I'm not interested in people that are stories about criminals in general. See, like I said, that's just not something that I gravitate towards. So yes, I read the Wikipedia plotline of it, and I'm glad I didn't watch it, because I don't know. I just don't think I would have liked the story. My brothers watched part of it when we were in California. I didn't like her character in there. And so I avoided it. So when I saw the trailer for this a while back, I didn't realize that was her. So I'm watching this, and I don't know much about her as an actor. And I have to say, I don't think I mesh very well with her style of acting. I did not like her personality in here. And I feel like this was part of her real personality sort of seeping into the character that she was playing, because I've heard that she's as quirky in real life as she often presents herself in her acting, different acting jobs that she's done. And I didn't like it. I didn't like her character. She was annoying. And I felt like she overacted and she just got under my skin. And so that was also another thing that was just like, ugh. That was not what made me not totally enjoy this film. It wasn't that. That was just an element of the film that I wasn't crazy about, but that wasn't the reason why I didn't, thoroughly love what I was watching. I'm just an observation with regard to her acting. I didn't like it, and I didn't care for her character. And I'd be curious to see if there's something else that she's in where she acts completely different, but I kind of have a feeling this is just her style. This is her brand. And if so, it's didn't really do much at all for me. But in general, it was definitely still enjoyable at certain moments, but as a whole, it was fundamentally a bit of a disappointment. Especially since I guess I went into it with an expectation that I was going to enjoy it as thoroughly as I enjoyed other Guy Ritchie movies, and that didn't happen. And it surprised me and kind of got on my nerves that didn't happen. So anyway, I don't think I have anything else. I've gone through all of my notes, and there's really nothing else to add. So if you guys end up checking this out, really curious to hear what you think. If you have that same sort of sentiment of just like, just felt generic sort of thing, or if you loved it and thought it was like Guy Ritchie's best. I did read a review that said it was like his best movie, according to this reviewer. They were never really crazy about his other movies, but they really loved this one. They thought this was fabulous. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't, but it's all subjective. So, okay, well, I don't have anything else. So I'm wrapping this up. Hasta luego.